We are now on class 5. There are 3 more classes left in this series after today, and it is the next one is how to manifest, heal trauma within ourselves and initiate inner healing. In class 7 is getting familiar with the energy in and around our body, introduction to energy healing, and how to use pendulums and crystals to heal and receive answers from spirit. That is a long title, so that one's there. And then last one is introduction to mediumship and psychic abilities, which psychic abilities go hand in hand with intuition. It's just intuition sounds better and not as hippy-dippy, so people feel like they're doing less hippy-dippy stuff. So, all right, so today we are going to be going into the how to connect to our intuition and archangels. And when it comes to our intuition, there's so many different ways that we can utilize our intuition. And our intuition is kind of like our compass in life. So it's we go through feeling urges and feeling like the gut feelings, the synchronicities and things like that. But our intuition is how we are guided through life, and so many times we use our intuition and don't even realize that we're using it. So today I'm going to be going over just kind of different ways that our intuition comes in. Then I'm going to go through our clairs, so if anybody's familiar with it, you're going to hear a little bit more in depth on my opinion. If you're not, I'm going to go over the main clairs, which are our psychic abilities or intuitive abilities, and then ways to tune into our intuition and how to make it stronger and stuff like that. Because everyone is intuitive. We all have gifts. We're all able to tap in, and we're all able to do all the stuff that we see others do that we wish we could do, but we're already able to do it. So when it comes to our intuition, the first thing that I always mention is just that gut feeling. So when we're the gut feeling, like a lot of mothers get with their kids, so they just know that something's not right with their kid, or they know something's wrong. Or when someone's like, hey, you want to come here and do this, and in your stomach you just know it's just not a good thing, a good feeling, and it ends up something happens at the place that you were supposed to go, and you listen to your intuition, or you didn't listen to your intuition and then you went there and you ended up getting in an argument with someone, or something happened, who knows. But the gut feeling is the what's happening there is that is our energy field, that is our sacral chakra, our solar plexus, that is feeling that intuition hit. So when that happens, our energy kind of tenses up. So if we're like, I'm thinking about doing this, and then you feel your energy kind of tense up, that is your sign that it's a no. But if you say, I'm going to go do this, and you feel your energy just open, that's your sign that you probably should do it and feel into it. I think someone else is walking in now, which is just fine. I'll find a seat. So anyway, then moving on to synchronicities. So our spirit guides talk to us through synchronicities. Our intuition is our spirit guides. It's God, it's the universe that's talking to us. It's our own body that's talking to us. When it comes to synchronicities, they can come in the form of seeing numbers reoccurring. It can come in the form of hearing music that is reoccurring. And I have so many different stories about all of this, but for me, when it comes to seeing numbers, if I start to see the number, so if I start, for example, just recently I started seeing the number 22, and I was seeing it everywhere. So when that happens, I will look into what does the number 22 mean? What does 22 mean spiritually? And I look at that, and then I read what it means, and then I apply that to my life. And right now there are some things happening in life that the number 22 go hand in hand with on where we're at with that, basically. And I know that's a brief description, but I don't want to go into my personal life too much, so it's like it's going into that. But if I am seeing like 33, and then the next hour I see 22, and then a little bit later I see 44, if I'm seeing numbers like that, that is my guides, that's God, that's the universe's way of telling me that I'm on the right track. So what I'm doing at this moment, the decisions I'm making, the path that I'm on, is exactly what I need to pay attention to. Many times I will say something about the center. So I'll think, man, I'm thinking about doing this class. I think it might be a good idea. And then I start putting it on paper. Well, as soon as I do that, that whole day I'll start seeing different numbers. And then the next day I see numbers. And then it'll kind of fade out. But that is the universe's way of saying, hey, you're on the right track, keep doing this, and so on. Because if they're always showing me the numbers and telling me you're on the right path, then they can always come down and talk to me and all that stuff, but there's no way for them to say, hey, you're on the right path, you're doing your right thing. So they will only show me those numbers when I am when it's like a transitional moment, when it's something that I really need to do that's really going to make a difference in my life, and so on. That's when those numbers will come into play. So then feelings and urges. So I am able to speak with my spirit guides. I'm able to hear my spirit guides, see my spirit guides, all of that stuff. But I run off of, like, on a day-to-day basis, I run off of my feelings and my urges and stuff like that, more so than I do talking with my guides. So I tap in with my guides every single night, and I talk to them, ask them if everything's good, if there's anything I need to know, anything I need to do, and we do that sort of thing. But on a daily basis, I am listening to my feelings, and I'm listening to my urges. There was a time, and I might have told this story before, but there was a time when I was delivering papers for the Cincinnati Enquirer, and that made me do this 7 days a week, every single night. I would deliver papers. I would go by the same places. So I went by a library, and when I went by the library, so I've been doing this for a year at this time, go by the library. I actually delivered a paper to the library, and then one day I went by and I felt this big drawl in my heart, just that I wanted to go into the library. Like, it just felt good, the thought of going into it. And I was like, why? Why do I need to go into the library? I don't understand, but I don't need to understand. It's what I'm being led to do. So I said, if I feel the same way over the next day or two, I'll go. And I went back there the next night. Went back there the next night, and I felt an even stronger urge to go into the library. So the next day I went. Me and my family went, and I went in and I just said, I'm just going to allow myself to be guided to where I go. So there wasn't guides saying turn left, turn right. It was literally just feeling what part of the library felt good. So I went in. And I went down like the general aisle, not like specific aisles, and then I turned off into a specific area. When I did, I looked over, and it was the spiritual book section. So I started looking at them, and I just reached for whichever ones felt good for me. And at that time, I was not a fan of reading. I would listen to audiobooks instead of read. So I took pictures of the books, the covers of the books that I found, and then I watched them I listened to them on the audiobook, whatever, YouTube or wherever I was listening to it to. And those books were instrumental in my transition moving forward from where I was at to where I needed to go. And if I wouldn't have listened to my intuition on going into the library and actually looking into those books, I would have never heard or read the things that I needed to in order to get to the next step in my journey. So just really listening to your your feelings and your urges, as they are, whenever anyone's trying to make a decision, I tell them to uh, present one decision over here, and then feel how that feels, and then present the other uh, situation over here and feel how that feels. And what I mean by that is, let's say I have two job offers, or I'm at my job now, and then I have another job that I'm thinking about doing. So what I would do is I place myself at my job that I'm at now, and I listen to how I feel. So I might feel my energy clam up, or I might feel that feeling of I don't even want to go back there. I don't like when I'm there. And then I feel into the other job, and I get a really good feeling about it. Well, that's telling you it's time to move on. Let's say you're jobless and you have two different jobs, or you're in one job and you have two different jobs that you can pick from. What you want to do there is you want to feel into one and then feel into the other, and listen to your feelings and not your head, because what you'll often find is that you are presented with this job and it feels amazing and everything feels great about it, and then you're presented with this job and it doesn't feel that great, but you're making $5 more over here at this job, and on this job you're making $5 less. So what's going on there is you'll feel this is the job for me, the $5 less one is the job for me, but then your mind says no, you need to make more money. It wouldn't make any sense to go to that job because you're going to be making less money, and it just doesn't make sense, and who knows where it's going to lead to. And then you end up going with the job that pays more money a lot of the times. And if you listened to your feelings, what most likely would have happened is you would have went into the job that felt good, and you would have been led to something much greater, much faster. Now, the thing with that is many people get very caught up on, am I choosing the right one, or am I making the right choices at the right time? Am I going to miss anything? That's the biggest thing with intuition, is people feel like they're going to miss something, so they start driving themselves crazy on, am I missing a sign? Am I missing the direction I need to go in? And you're not. So even if you pick the one that doesn't feel good and that's making more money, the universe is going to make that work however it needs to work for you. So if you pick the job that is more money, the universe is going to find a way for that to work out to get you to where you need to go anyway. It just may take a little bit more time because you are you're not in your flow zone. You're not going with the flow. You kind of went out of flow, so your guides have to work a little bit to reconnect that flow to where you're at now, so you can then join back up with that flow. So just understand that your guides are always going to get you to where you need to go. I was just getting ready to make I do some short TikTok videos or like a Facebook reel every once in a while. And I was in my kitchen actually making a waffle the other morning, and I thought about it. I was just like, this is, so many people get so caught up on, am I going to miss the sign? And we just have to really understand that your guides, the universe, God, is not going to allow you to miss any opportunity that's presented. Now, with that being said, there may be a time where you should have reacted to something and you didn't, and you did miss out on that opportunity. But that opportunity is going to come back to you if it's meant for you, and it may take another 3 months or something, but you're always going to be led to where you need to be led. And with that being said, if it's something that's very important, like a soul moment, meaning a moment that your soul really wanted you to have in this life, you are not going to miss that at all. There's no way you're going to be able to miss that. So if you're meant to have this spiritual awakening, or you're meant to open this gift, or you're meant to go to this job or marry this person, or whatever it is that is a life moment that you've already kind of set out, uh, you're not going to miss it. You're going to be led to it. So just don't get caught up on that, is what I'm trying to say. Our intuition is our psychic abilities. So I'm going to go into all of those. I'm not going to go deep into that yet. In just a second, I'm going to go into the clairs, so that way we can get a better feel for all of those. All right, so let's see. Communication with our spirit guides, higher selves, loved ones, archangels. This is something that I recommend everyone to try to establish, and that is a connection with your spirit guides or higher self, archangels, whatever vibes with you the most. I utilize all of them. So, and I'm going to get into what each archangel means and does here in just a few minutes. But for me, I use Archangel Michael for protection. I use Archangel Raphael for healing, and I use Archangel Gabriel for kind of protection and guidance with my path as well. And I use those three the most. Now, I've seen Archangel Metatron before, and he's actually communicated with a friend of mine. And again, I'll get more into this, but I'm going to tell this story real quick while I'm on there. And you actually know Melanie. So I was doing this meditation, and all of a sudden I came to this big old gray archangel, and he was just so big and tall. And then all of a sudden, a ton of stuff happened. Basically, I don't have to go into all that. But my friend Melanie, the next day, she calls me and she's like, "Hey, Josh," she's like, "Would you like to tell me why there was a big gray angel standing in my room last night saying I needed to talk to Josh?" And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, so then I went into my meditation, and she was meant to inform me on a 8th chakra that was opening, and other chakras and stuff that was opening, energy that was opening, and that's just how the universe works. It's not always that like black and white. There's an angel standing there saying you need to talk to Josh, but she listened and she called me and she was able to inform me on what I needed, and it worked out. So anyway, connecting with our spirit guides, I'm going to get into how to do that a little bit more here in just a few, but our spirit guides are there to help us in so many different ways. I did have a class on that last month, so I'm not going to go as in depth as I would in that class, but I'm going to go deep into it. Loved ones. My father-in-law helps with so much stuff. So my father-in-law passed away, and he kind of initiated my awakening and my family's awakening and all of that. And he has just been instrumental in all of the stuff that's happened in our lives. I mean, it's just amazing the stuff that he has orchestrated. So many people have been like, I'm feeling like I'm needing to give you this message, and it's coming from some curly-head guy that thinks he's funny, and it's like, that's my father-in-law. He thought he was the funniest guy ever. He had jokes all the time, and he just all that. So he's helped out a lot, and we always have our, not always, but oftentimes there are loved ones that are coming down to help guide us, protect us, and to just help us in a lot of different ways. So, last thing I want to mention about our intuition in this part of it is the just knowing. So this is claircognizance, which is just knowing, and I'm going to go into claircognizance in a little bit more. But our ability to just know is one of the easiest and most flowing gifts that we have, but also the most hardest gift to understand and follow, because we just know something and then we talk ourselves right out of just knowing it, and then end up just figuring it out instead of just knowing it, because that's just how humans are. And then one big thing that is really good to understand is our right side represents our physical side, our father side, our masculine side. Our left side is our spiritual side, it's our emotional side, it is our feminine side. and our mother's side. So, something that happens a lot to many of us is we will do something along the lines of we're walking through a door and we hit our left shoulder or something, and we're like, oh, why the heck did I run into the door? And then later on, you're getting into your car and you hit your shoulder on your car door or something, or stubbing your toe, or hitting your hand on something. Things like that, if they happen, if I ever stub my toe, I immediately say, all right, if it happens again, I will feel into it and understand what's going on. And if I stub my toe again, I will then stop and feel into what's going on and all of that stuff. Sometimes if I do it just once, it's a big enough hit that I'm like, all right, I know that I need to figure out something. And by hit, I mean when I stub it, I feel that there's something that needs my attention. So if you stub your toe, for example, or if you're hitting your shoulder, hitting your hand on your right side, oftentimes it means that there's something that you need to look into on the physical side of things. And that can be with your body, that can be with communicate or things going on between people and stuff like that. And it can mean a lot of stuff on the physical side. But then if you're hitting yourself on your left side, that means that you need to pay attention to your spiritual side. It means you need to pay attention to your emotional side and your feminine side, your motherly side, just that side of things. And so then it leaves you with, well, what the heck am I supposed to look into? I know I'm supposed to look into something. What is it? And that's where you sit quietly and you allow yourself to just be for a second. You can close your eyes if you want to, and then you ask yourself, what is the universe trying to bring my attention to? And 9 times out of 10, you're going to go straight to it. But it oftentimes is something that we don't want to hear, or it's something that we don't want to have to work on, or it's something that we may need to seek further guidance on, or something along those lines. So pay attention to when you're hitting yourself in places, because the universe will just throw all that at you. Like for me, it is stubbing my toe. If I stub my toe once, I'm like, all right, what do I need to look into? But also in my vehicle, I will, if I am driving and I turn a corner and I hit the curb on my right side, there's no reason. I drive all the dang time and I shouldn't be hitting the curb with my right side. If that happens, I then say, all right, what do I need to pay attention to on my physical side? Especially if it happens more than once, because I'm a really good driver and I don't hit curbs. So if that happens, that's kind of just a cue for the universe. So just pay attention to that. But most importantly, just remember right side, physical, left side, spiritual, emotional. All right. So I'm going to move into talking about the... I believe there are other clairs, but I'm just talking about our main 6 clairs. So when it comes to our clairs, it gives us the ability to do things such as feel energy, see energy, speak with spirit, predict things, see illness in others, visions, heal, and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start first with clairvoyance. So clairvoyance is our ability to see, and our clairvoyance comes across as visions. So it can be... This is also where people get very confused with things as well. So I have one person, she's a friend that comes here often to meditation and other classes and things like that. And she loves Disney and she loves all that kind of stuff. And her guides oftentimes talk to her through Disney kind of stuff, or playing out different scenes of a movie that she's seen before. So if she is like, oh my gosh, why do I feel so, crazy right now or something, and then she sees a Disney character flying down a river in a kayak and the water's going real fast or something, well, that could represent to her that her emotion, because water represents emotion, it can represent that her emotions are just flowing at a really high rate right now. She needs to kind of tap in and allow herself to calm down her emotions. and allow them to flow, because we're not going to go in and say, emotions, calm down. We're going to go in and we're going to feel our emotions, and we're going to say, all right, I'm going to allow myself to breathe through these emotions, and I'm going to bring that calm and that stillness to the body and allow myself to calm this energy. But so aside from that, our clairvoyance can present itself as just a straight vision of something that we have no clue where it came from. And those are the most pure intuitive hits that we can get when it comes to our clairvoyance. So in the beginning of my awakening, I decided I needed to meditate, and I went home. I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to meditate, and she's like, okay. And I went and I meditated, and then all of a sudden I saw this fiery phoenix, and that was like a vision within my imagination. And then shortly after that, I was taken to, like, all of a sudden this vision popped in my head as if I was really there, and my hand was being held out, and there were three women or girls, they seemed kind of younger, holding my hand, and there was a crystal ball in the back with some tarot cards, and I knew nothing of any of this stuff. And they grabbed my hand, and they were kind of laughing and playful, and they said, stay with us, stay with us. And I was like, then I came to, and I was like, whoa, what the heck just happened there? And come to find out, there were three of my spirit guides that were basically telling me to continue down this path of spirituality and stay with them on this journey and learn and serve my purpose for what I need to do, which is where I'm at right now. And so anyway, that was a vision that was like completely out of the blue. So you want to pay attention to that. Also, those clairvoyant messages can come across as our imagination. So when I go in and I ask, what does, or if I'm asking a question about myself or for a client or anybody, I will say, what does this person need to do with this or something along those lines? And I'm very clairvoyant, so I see things. So in my clairvoyance, it will, all of a sudden I'll see this scene playing out in my imagination that may look like the person I'm asking a question about, or it may bring me to something completely different. So if I say, spirit guides, do you have any messages for me at the moment? And then I see, and this is a vision that is coming through to me right now. So I'm seeing like two sticks with a bar in between them, like a high jump kind of thing. And when I see that, I see the person who isn't me. It's just some random person that runs, and they go to jump over it, and they stumble over it, and they kind of fall. And then instead of the message then is, instead of moping about that, go back, reassess, and try again. And then I see the person jumping over it and being happy, and everything's amazing. So for me, that represents, hey, it may not seem like you hit your goal or your thing that you wanted to do, your vision or whatever it is, but there's going to be hiccups, and you need to reevaluate and then move forward again, and you're going to see everything that you are wanting to manifest with this just happen in an amazing way, basically. So some people may be thinking, like, I don't know how to decipher all that stuff, and I don't feel all that, and that's okay. I just wanted to give you an example of how my clairvoyance works and how your clairvoyance can work as well. And some ways to practice your clairvoyance is to, well, let me start by saying this. With our clairvoyance, it's very important for us to be able to hold a vision in our mind. So one way, or let me say this, the reason for that is when a vision comes through, if our third eye and our clairvoyance is not used to it and not strong enough to hold that vision, it'll come in and we'll say, oh, there's a vision, and then it'll go away, and our mind will go to somewhere else or something along those lines. But if we practice, it gets us used to being able to hold a vision there. So when a vision comes in, we can say, all right, I see the vision, I'm seeing this happening, what does this vision mean? And it gives you time to decipher those visions. One of the best ways to practice clairvoyance is closing, and you don't have to do this now, but closing your eyes and visualizing, imagining, making up the number one in your imagination, however that looks for you. So you just visualize the number one, and then you hold that number one there for 10 seconds. So you hold it there and you say 1, 2, and you count to 10. And then once you get to 10, you change that number to the number 2. And then you count to 10 again. And that helps strengthen your clairvoyance and helps strengthen that ability to, first off, just see and recognize that area of our intuition, because our intuition feels like imagination. Our clairvoyance especially feels like imagination probably 8 times out of 10. You're not always going to get this like amazing crystal clear vision that came out of nowhere. You may, and you're very gifted clairvoyant if you do, but you're most likely not, and it's going to come across as some kind of an imagination thing. So holding that there helps you a lot. Another way is getting like a plant or a picture of somewhere or something along those lines, and just looking at it for a couple of minutes, and you look at it, you take it all in, and then you close your eyes, and then you recall that image. You're not doing anything special. All you're doing is recalling that image, but you are strengthening your clairvoyance. And it gets you into that state to realize this is where I am seeing visions. This is where I can connect and see things. So you do that, and that'll strengthen it. The other way that, this is one of my favorite ways to strengthen your clairvoyance, but it also strengthens all of your abilities at the same time, is I like to close my eyes and I like to imagine a house, and wherever this house is okay. Whatever the house looks like, it's okay. You just say that I want to imagine a house, and you make that house up, and it's just there. So there may be reasons why this house looks exactly like it does. There may be reasons why this house is where it is. There may be reasons why there's as many windows as there are, but that's for a later time for you to get into. But create that house, and then as you create it, or as you visualize just a big house, or not a big house, just a house, you then start to take in its surroundings. So what is surrounding that house? Is it surrounded by grass? Are there sidewalks? Is it in kind of like a cul-de-sac? Or is it a little shack that's in the woods? And you kind of take in all of that. And then you take in how many windows are actually in this house. What color is the house? What does the door look like? Are there any steps leading up to the house? Are there any lights on the outside of the house? Are there shutters? And just things like that. You take in all of that. And then once you do that, you zoom in and you bring yourself to that front door. And then it kind of gets real. It gets really real. And then you see yourself reaching out, grabbing that door and opening that door, grabbing the door handle and opening the door. And when you do that, you walk inside. So as you get inside of this house, I want you to allow yourself to look on the walls, look on the stairs, look on the, if there's stairs in mine, so that's why I said stairs. But look wherever on the carpet. Is it hardwood floor? Is it carpet? Is there tile in the house? All of that. And then I want you to listen to what's going on inside the house. Does it sound busy, like there's all kinds of stuff going on? Do you hear someone in the other room? Things like that. And then feeling the temperature in the house. Is it cold? Is it warm? Does it feel great in the house? Does it feel hot? And then feeling the energy of the house. And does it feel does it feel like it's welcoming, or does it feel like it's depressed, or does it feel like it's like there's a lot of anger or anxiety going on within the house? Just things like that. And when you do that, you're exercising your other clairs and strengthening those as well. So you're strengthening the ability to feel, the ability to hear, the ability to tap into your clairsentience, which is feeling the energy of the area, and things like that. So anyway, with clairvoyance, that is our vision center, and those are some ways that you can practice your clairvoyant abilities. I would highly recommend that everyone do strengthen their clairvoyant abilities, because the ability to be able to see visions and things like that is a great gift. And I am a strong believer that probably 95% of people are able to do it. But the people that say they're not able to do it, they just haven't realized or recognized the place in their mind and in their center that they need to go to see and visualize things, which doing these exercises will help you a ton with that. So, moving on to the next clair, which is clairaudience. So this is the ability to hear. And when it comes to our clairaudience, so I'll also say this, when it comes to our clairvoyance, the one we were just talking about, our third eye is, it has a lot to do with our clairvoyance. So strengthening your third eye and listening to like binaural beats for your third eye, or just frequencies for your third eye, or doing meditations where you're bringing in bright white light to put into your third eye, things like that, that strengthens your clairvoyance as well. So strengthening your third eye helps that a ton. And you can Google how to strengthen your third eye, and you'll find a million different ways, because that's like the popular thing to do. Everybody wants to strengthen their third eye. So that's with clairvoyance. Clairaudience, which is what we're on now, is the ability to hear, and it has a lot to do with the throat chakra. So making sure our throat chakras are in good order is really important for our clairaudience. So clairaudience can come across in many different forms. It can come across as a person talking external, such as I'm talking and I say, "Spirit guides, what do I need to do today?" And then externally, like someone's in the room with you, you hear, "Well, you need to go and do this and this and this." That is one form of clairaudience. Another one is hearing a voice in your head, and that voice sounds separate than your inner voice that you have. So you then would work with that, and you, anytime you hear that voice, you know that it's a spirit guide, or you know it's a loved one, or your higher self, or an archangel, or whatever, talking to you. And you can differentiate your spirit guides by their different tones of voice as well, the more experienced you get with that. The other way is it sounds like your own voice. So oftentimes intuition will sound like, it'll sound like I need to go to the library. And I'm like, well, hold on, why did I just say I need to go to the library? And what's happening is your guides, the universe, sends you a signal saying you need to go to the library. And then you receive that and you turn it into I need to go to the library. And that's kind of how that works. So listening to that, listening to your inner dialogue is huge. And one of the best ways to do that, to listen to all your inner dialogue, is to go quiet in meditation and see who is talking. Because what you might not realize is that there is at least two voices within you that are talking all the time, and one is your ego voice, and one is your inner wisdom, your inner voice, and or you can say your higher self. And when you start to listen to those, you can know when your ego is giving you some kind of bullcrap, basically, to try to scare you into staying safe, because your ego doesn't want to hurt you. Your ego doesn't want to do anything to harm you, but your ego wants to keep you safe. So if you were taught that keeping $20,000 in the bank at all time and saving all your money and not spending any money ever is the safe thing to do, anytime you go to spend money, your ego is going to say, whoa, I should not be doing this. I know I shouldn't be doing this. But then there's a quieter voice, your inner voice, that's saying, you should be doing this. This is something that you need to do. And when you find yourself arguing with yourself, that's when you know that there's something going on there. So if I'm ever like, I feel like I need to do this, and then I find myself arguing with myself to not do it, oftentimes I know that it's something that I do need to do, and my ego's keeping me safe, or vice versa. So just understand that your voices can sound different, or it can sound like your own voice. There are many people that are very gifted, clairaudient people. So I'm able to hear. I'm able to hear as well. And clairaudience doesn't always have to be like a spirit talking to you. It can be ringing of the ears, or it can be that you hear a deafening in your ear sometimes, or a deafening followed by a ring. And there's different rings. So there's a piercing ring that's like ring, and it just stays and it stays. There's rings that are like you go, it rings for a second and you kind of go deaf in that ear for a few seconds or a few minutes. There's also a little ding that you can hear, and so many other things. And you need to differentiate which one is which. So if I ever go deaf in my ear, I know that my guides are telling me that I need to pay attention to something. They're telling me, hey, you are missing something and you need to really settle down and pay attention to something. If I hear a ring, like a really high ring, that is my guides telling me that there's something that needs my immediate attention right this second. There was, I told a story before in another class, but I was leaving a party one time when I first started to open up to my intuition. I first started opening up to all this. I was leaving a birthday party, and there was a dog up on a porch barking at us that someone brought, and they kind of just tied their dog off, and it was just up on this second story porch. And I looked at it, and I was like, that doesn't seem that good. And as I said that, and I took another step, I heard ring in my ear, so I stopped, because that's what my teacher told me I should do. Anytime I hear that, stop, take in what's going on, and figure out what's going on. So I did, and my attention was brought to the dog, and I was like, that dog is going to fall. I know that dog's going to slip off, because the railings were like way too wide apart. And I was like, I know that dog is going to fall off of there, and it's going to either get hurt or die and be hung or whatever. So I went back into the party, and I was like, hey, whoever's dog that is out there, it's getting really close to the edge, so I would really recommend that you untie it from the because that's the other thing, it was tied to the banister or the railing, so it couldn't go anywhere. So if it fell, it was going to just be hanging there if the collar didn't slip off, if the leash didn't break, all that. So I went back in, said that, and I don't know what they did, but I do know that I did my part, and I didn't want the dog to be hurt, but I can't just go up and take the dog and say, here, you got to take your dog and whatever. So I just allowed that to play out, and then I left the party, and that was the end of it. I don't think anything happened, but listening to those rings and those noises in the ear is important as well. And so one of the strongest and best ways to strengthen your clairaudience is to sit silently in a room in a household where there's not like a ton going on. So if you have a ton going on in your house, wait until there's not for a second. And I want you to just sit there and listen to everything that you can hear immediately. So you listen to all that's going on, and then from there you allow yourself to hear more. You don't reach out for more. You allow your ears to let more frequency in. So you just kind of like surrender and release and let go a little bit more and allow yourself to hear more, and you will hear further. You'll hear more things. So let's just say at this moment we went quiet and we were just listening to what we could. Well, we would hear the music. You might hear a car drive by every once in a while. You may hear someone doing something around the office, and that's kind of your immediate stuff that you hear. But then as you allow yourself to hear more, you may hear the birds chirping outside a little bit more. You may hear someone downstairs tapping their pencil or pen or something, or you may hear water dripping somewhere. You just are able to take in more. So what happens with this though is you are allowing your ears to hear different frequencies. So while we say, well, I was hearing this, and now I'm just hearing the birds, now I'm just hearing the pencil tap, you can let go so much that you hear your neighbor having a conversation, but it just takes a lot of exercising this to do that. But what does happen, excuse me, is your energy, your ears they start to tap into different frequencies. And that can be spiritual, like spirit communication frequencies. So I will share what happened with me with this exercise, just so if it does happen to you, you're not freaked out by it. So when I started to do this exercise, I would be able to hear more and more and more. And over like a week period, I was doing it and I was hearing more and more sounds, and it felt good when I did it. I felt like I was doing something good. It just felt good to me. And then my inner dialogue started to really open up, and my ability to hear my spirit guides, my ability to just hear the ringing, like there was so much ringing that started happening because the universe, my guides, God, it saw that I was trying to open up that center. I was trying to open up my ability to hear. So they really started to throw that stuff at me. But what happened was I was in my house, in my room, and I was meditating, and I was doing that, allowing more energy in, or more frequency in. And I heard someone say, no, he doesn't hear us. And then a lady said, no, he is hearing us. Look. And then I was like, oh, like I wasn't like, ooh, but my energy was like, holy cow, like I was just hearing something, and it took me right back to my original, like, normal hearing. So then I was like, no, I gotta go back. And I was trying too hard, and I couldn't get back into that frequency. So then I took a few breaths, and I let go, and then I was able to get back into that frequency, and I might have heard something. I don't remember the exacts at this point, but what was happening was I was starting to let go, and in those moments of letting go, I was hearing voices. I was hearing spirits that were in my house talk to me, or talk about me, I guess, because it wasn't necessarily directly to me all the time. So I was hearing these conversations, and as I was letting go and tapping into these frequencies, that's one of those things that once you tap into that frequency, your energy, your abilities know that it can go back to that. It's just like seeing auras. And I guess I'll touch on that really quick as well with clairvoyance. It allows you to see energy as well. So like seeing someone's auric field or seeing energy in the body, that's my like prized gift that I have, is the ability to see into people's bodies and see illness, or to see dis-ease, or to see where they're holding negative energy at, and just things like that. So you can use your clairvoyance for that, but what I'm trying to get at though is with, it's the same as when we see an aura. We can stare at someone forever and try to see auras and not see anything. But then the moment that you see a little flicker of color, you realize that it's not going to present itself in the same exact way that you're trying to see the aura, because you may be looking at the person and just looking at them and expecting this color to just form around them, not realizing that you need to flip your filter. So it's almost like anybody that's went to the eye doctor ever, it's like when they flip those lenses, it's like, is it clear, is it clear, is it clear? So you're literally just flipping lenses in front of your third eye to be able to see an auric field. So once you see that color, we'll just say not even color, that frequency, you then know that you're able to tap into that frequency, so you can flip that lens up, and then you're able to see it very, very easy from then on out. But it's all a realization of flipping that lens. So bringing that back to clairaudience is, once you hear those frequencies, you then are able to move into those frequencies a lot easier. So I was doing that for a few weeks, and then I started to be able to hear spirits very, very well, to the point where I actually started to shut it down because I was hearing way too many spirits all the time. And this is a whole other story that I'm not going to get into, but I'll tell you the gist really quick. I had a portal that was open in a mirror in my house that was from the previous owner that was there and whatever. And that portal was allowing all these energies and spirits to come into the house. And along with that, there were just spirits that were hanging around the house anyway for the longest time. So then I open up, then I'm hearing them, and then I cleanse them, and then they're gone, and now my house is quiet, and I don't hear all that stuff. So it's great. And portals are closed, all that stuff. So if you do that exercise and you start hearing things, it's perfectly normal, and you may be able to understand that there, or realize that there are spirits around you or something, and you can do something about it, or maybe you can communicate with them, and things like that. So clairaudience, that's kind of the run through of that, and doing that exercise will strengthen your clairaudience. Along with that, allowing yourself to just take in sounds on a daily basis in a enhanced way. Like, how often do you sit down and pay attention to what you're actually hearing? Like, everything's just background noise, and it's usually your head talking to you, or you're trying to figure out what you're going to do about this or that, and you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. So sitting down and paying attention to the sounds around you more often will help open up your clairaudient ability. All right, so moving on, I'm going to get a drink really quick, and if anybody wants any water, you can get up at any time. There's water there if you want it. All right, so moving on to claircognizance, which this is the one that I was talking about as the just knowing part of our abilities. This one is a hard one. It is literally the easiest one for us to utilize, but it is the hardest one for us to recognize and get familiar with it and analyze it and be able to use it to the best of our ability. Claircognizance is literally the ability to get downloads and information about people, things, situations, and all of that. And it's usually has a lot to do with our crown chakra as well. But it has a lot to do with our ability to just know things. So if someone's talking to you and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I'm late, I was doing this and that, and you're just like, no, they weren't, they were doing this, and you just know they were. So that's claircognizance. That's your ability to just know what's going on. Or if you meet someone and your friend's like, oh my gosh, this person is like the best person in the whole world, you have to meet them, and then you meet them and you just know they're a bad person. You just know that they don't mean any good, or things like that. Or that they're a very traumatized person and they have a lot of conditioning that's going on that makes them not good for you to hang around, or something along those lines. That is your claircognizance. That is just bringing in those downloads, and you just know those things. Hardest thing is to listen to it, though, because oftentimes it's things that we don't want to hear. So someone's telling us this person's the best person in the whole world, and then our claircognizance says, no, they're not. And we're like, well, our friend's saying they are, and they seem okay right now, so I must be wrong. And then you end up getting in a friendship with them, and 4 years down the road, they stab you in the back, and you realize they're really a crappy person and was talking crap about you the whole time, or whatever may have happened. But that's just a good example of how our claircognizance works. Ways to strengthen that ability is for me, it's always been about trial and error. So it's like, if I meet someone and my claircognizance is saying this person's a bad person, well, what I'm going to do, and it's changed now. Now I'm very in tune with my claircognizance. But in the beginning, if I was told this person's a bad person and I'm like, they might not be, I will note that down. I will just put it as a mental note and say, all right, I was told this person's a bad person, or this person is going to do this, or whatever. And I note that down in my mind, and I hold on to it, but then I just allow things to play out the way that it would any other way. Later on down the line, if that person proves to be a crappy person, or they did what I was told they were going to do, I then will say, okay, when I felt that, when I heard that, when I knew that, that's how it feels when my claircognizance is working, and that's what it feels like when I'm getting messages. And I would just do that with everything. So I would do that with choices in life. I would do that with different situations in life. Just everything that I possibly could, I would utilize my claircognizance, and I would just note it down and just make sure that I am taking note of what it's telling me. And that's kind of like bringing your awareness to everything that's happening on a daily basis. So like bringing your awareness to literally like every single thing that ever is happening to you throughout the day. So you wake up and you stub your toe, or you wake up and then you, get a feeling that you should do this or that. Just feeling into everything all day long and paying attention to everything is key for our claircognizance and understanding how to actually utilize it, and the differences between us talking within ourselves and an actual message. All right, so we're going to move on to clairsentience. And clairsentience is the ability to feel, and that is feeling others' energy. That's feeling those urges and those feelings and the guidance that's coming through. So when it comes to clairsentience, we are going to look at our feelings. So a lot of people that are empaths, and they say that they're highly empathic. Well, those people are just very highly clairsentient, and that means that their energy feels others' energy more than others do, and they're highly sensitive to energy. So there's some people that are highly clairsentient, and they are very sensitive to radio or to like energy waves. Or like if they go into a room and there's a circuit breaker or something, it really affects them, makes them feel like they're going to pass out or something. Or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, just things like that. And then others, like when you walk into a room and you're like, oh wow, this room feels depressing, or it just feels odd or whatever. Well, a lot of the times that's because you're picking up on the energy in the room. So, and then the other side of that is if you walk in a room and everything feels amazing, it feels cozy, it feels good. You're feeling the feel-good energy of that room and of that space. So, when it comes to clairsentience and how to, well, actually, at first I would say with your clairsentience, if you're highly clairsentient, it's very important for you to do bright light protection and placing bubbles of bright light protection around yourself. Because what that is imagining a bubble of bright white light surrounding the body and setting intent. So you would put a bubble around your body and you would say, this bubble is to keep me from feeling others' energy. And it's to keep others from stealing my energy. And that would help you a ton with your clairsentience. Moving along from that side of it and moving into just another aspect of it. So there was a period of time when I played softball. I did MMA, I worked 3 jobs at this time. I was just so busy doing everything. And I had a lot of aches and pains. And I would come home and my wife would, basically we would find that she's complaining that her knee hurts all of a sudden. She doesn't know why, she didn't do anything to it. And that went on for a long time. And then eventually I was like, and I was new to all of this, and eventually I was like, hold on. Or maybe she even brought it up. I don't know. One of us did. But we were like, my knee is hurting as well. And your same exact knee is hurting. So what if you're picking up on my energy from me hurting? And we found out that's actually what was going on. She started to protect herself, and we started to say, like, we don't want her to feel my energy. And she stopped feeling my aches and pains. But you can do that with everyone in the world. So it's not just your significant other, it's other people. So you could be walking in the grocery store and someone's very depressed and has a ton of anxiety or anything along those lines, and all of a sudden you get this intense anxiety. Well, the reason that you could be getting that intense anxiety is because of walking through that person's energy bubble. So that's why it's important to do bright light protection to protect your energy and make sure that you're not picking up other people's energy. And then to strengthen your clairsentience, what time am I at? 7. Okay, so to strengthen your clairsentience, you are going to want to go into a meditative state, and you're going to the meditation that I teach is you go into your meditative state and you visualize a ball of light in the middle of your chest. And this ball of light is just sitting there. It can be however big, and then it starts to grow and it fills your whole body with bright white light. As it fills your whole body with bright white light, you then allow it to sit for a second, and then you expand that bright white light out into the room, and to where all chairs, all walls, all ceilings, floors is all just getting consumed with this bright white light. And then you just allow it to go and go and go until eventually the whole entire universe, everything that is just all bright white light now. And you're just in this bright white void, and you're just feeling everything. You're opening your senses, you're allowing yourself to feel all that is. And when my teacher first taught that to me, I went into the meditation and I was like, this makes no sense. And it didn't make any sense to me. But as I was doing that meditation, like 2 days into doing it, I started feeling energy like crazy. One of the main stories that I remember is my wife and I, we went to a restaurant, and it was O'Charlie's, and we went there, and the waitress laid the check, or the book with our check in it, down, and I went to grab it, and when I did, I got like, say my phone is the little tablet, I went and I was like this close to it, and as I got close to it, there was this bubble of just stressful, hot energy that was there, and I was like, I went, I was like, whoa, and I was like, what is that? And I started to feel it, and at that time I didn't realize that I was able to see as much as I am able to see, but I was seeing this chaotic energy. I was feeling the chaotic energy, and I just felt this stressful energy. So I sent some Reiki to it at that time because I was learning Reiki as well, and I just sent some Reiki to it and cleansed it, and then I picked it up and it was fine. But that was my first real moment of actually feeling someone else's energy really strongly. So doing that meditation can help a ton, and along with that, just allowing yourself to really feel things. So you pick up a crystal, or you pick up a pine cone, and you're just allowing yourself to just really feel the ins and out of it, and not just the physical part of it. Allowing yourself to feel into that pine cone or into whatever it is that you're feeling. Allowing yourself to feel that energy, and one good way is plants. And all these are fake up here, but I have real plants all throughout the rest of the place. But feeling into plants, you get a plant, you sit it up, and you allow yourself to feel how that plant feels. Like, how does the plant feel? And it's amazing. I did an intuition workshop a few months ago, and I brought like 4 or 5 different plants into the room, and I broke it up into sections, and I think I maybe had like 9 people. I don't know the logistics, but basically like 3 people had one plant, 3 people had another plant, and 3 people had the other plant. And then we passed it. So they all had the plant, they noted down what they felt, and just messages that it had, and all that kind of stuff. And then they passed that plant to the next group, and then the next group got the next plant. So all of them got the same plant at one point. So anyway, going through the notes with everyone on what did you feel about that plant, and what messages did you get, and just those kind of things. It was it's always amazing to see, because everyone came up with pretty much the same exact feeling of the plant, and message wise they all got pretty much the same message as well. So it's just really cool to see that you are able to feel into that. So getting a plant and doing that is one really, really good way to exercise your clairsentience. And also, like touching a tree. If you just take your hand and you just put it on a tree, feeling into that is amazing, and you'll be really surprised at the information you get from a tree, and the energy that it gives you as well. Is the sun in your eyes over there?
A little bit.
I can close here. I'm going to close that because it'll just get worse.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess the clouds are kind of there. Usually I close this anyway, but it was overcast. All right. So anyway, clairsentience. That's kind of the gist with that, and allowing yourself to start to feel into things is just key with that. All right. So those are like the main four. And then I'm going to go into just two more that's kind of different than the rest. So clairgustance, and that is taste. So it's kind of random and weird and different when you taste something that's not really there. One of the best things that I can say is with this ability is if you taste a metallic taste in your mouth, that oftentimes means that someone is draining your energy. Like someone around you is draining your energy. I remember being at work one time and I got this metallic taste and I was like, who's stealing my energy? And I immediately looked over to this guy that I never really ever talked to, and I was like, there's no way that he's stealing my energy. And then through a series of events, I realized that he was definitely stealing my energy, and got rid of that. Or I protected myself from that and cut off that energetic connection. But taste is big. So also you could be in a vision and your guides are saying, you say, where should I travel to? And they start showing you, I don't know, New York or something, and then they're showing you eating a piece of pizza or something, and you actually taste that piece of pizza. Things like that. Again, this is one of the more not used ones, but it is used and it's there. So I wanted to mention it. And ways to strengthen that, if you want to strengthen that ability, is to like taste testers, the people that like can taste like how many different ingredients you have in a certain something or whatever. Their clairgustance is amazing because they are able to. I keep getting out of my camera range. I gotta get back in. They're able to taste so much, and they've differentiated all of that and strengthen it. So allowing yourself to really taste the foods and the things that you're eating and drinking and holding them in your mouth and just allowing yourself to take that in will strengthen your clairgustance. Then last one is your clairalience. Sometimes it's pronounced clairalliance, and to be completely honest, I don't know which one it is, but I just say clairalience. So that is smell. So my wife's grandpa passed away, and we were in La Rosa's, often like the whole of La Rosa's. Like we were in a corner, no one around, and it was like in the middle of the day, there was no one there. So anyway, there was no one there, literally no one in the restaurant. There might have been someone across the restaurant eating, but we were sitting there. Waiter or waitress came, and she left, and then we were sitting there eating our salads, and then my wife is like, oh my God, do you smell that? And I'm like, no. And she's like, it smells just like my grandpa. And then all of a sudden I started smelling it as well, and that is your sense picking up that he's around and whatever. One of the biggest ones in the stories that you'll hear from people is they'll say, well, my husband passed away, and he was a big smoker, and years after he passed away, and I would walk into the house and I would smell smoke, or I didn't smell it for years, and then all of a sudden I walk in the living room and I smell smoke, or I walk in the bedroom and I smell smoke. That's a big one with this sense, and And that's kind of how this sense goes. And as you would imagine, the way to strengthen it is to smell things. So taking in smells. So when you see a flower, going over and smelling it and really analyzing that smell and allowing yourself to really take it in and really get in tune with that smell. So those are the 6 main clairs. The 4 are the main ones that are used. So hopefully you learned a little bit from that. So now I am going to go into ways to get in tune with our intuition and to make it stronger. All right, so meditation, which a lot of people, I just want to say, think that they are doing meditation wrong because their mind is wandering. And I want you to know that it is perfectly fine for your mind to wander. What is important is for you to understand how to do the right meditation to transmute those thoughts, because all thoughts is energy. So those thoughts are a situation or something that's happened that started off as this little bitty piece of energy that entered your field. And then you or someone else talking about it or the situation continuing made it bigger, and then it got bigger. So now it's this big cloud of thought that's there. So doing a mindlessness meditation is huge for you to be able to get rid of that energy. And the way you do that is you close your eyes and you focus on your third eye area. And you just focus on that dark point, that black void that's there. And you say, I'm going mindless and I'm not thinking. And then you do that. And then 10 seconds later, you're thinking a thought. And that's okay. What you're going to do is when you realize that you were thinking that thought, you say, all right, I see this thought, and I'm now going to send it away to be healed with love and light. And then you refocus on your third eye area. Now, when you do that, that thought that was like this big comes in, and you send it off, and it gets littler. And as you do that, those thoughts keep getting littler and littler until they're nothing. And you will then be able to go mindless for longer, and it'll be much more of a strong bit of silence that you're going to have. It'll be more effective, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But meditating like that and clearing your mind is super important to get you to a point where you're able to see the visions and able to hear the communication, able to just know the things. Because if your mind is filled with tons of crap, like most of our minds are all the time, if you're not meditating regularly or cleaning them out in some way, shape, or form, it's going to be really hard to be able to hear the guidance that you need to hear, because you're going to go in and you're going to say, all right, do you have any messages for me? And then immediately you're going to start thinking of what happened at work earlier, or what this person said, or something about something. But when you clear that out, it allows you to be able to be mindless and say, do I have any messages, and allow whatever is there to get you to come, or to whatever is there to come through. Now, a big thing to understand with this is when you are quiet and you're focusing on your third eye area, you are activating your third eye and you are strengthening your third eye. So by doing that and looking into that, you may see colors and you may see swirling, and all that's perfectly normal and fine. But as you're doing that and you're getting rid of that energy of the thoughts, you are also strengthening your connection with your third eye and your ability to connect and download that intuition. No matter if it's a vision, hearing, thought, or whatever it is, you're quieting your mind and opening up space for that. All right, so moving on from that, I am going to go into connecting with spirit guides. Again, I just did this class last month, so I'm not going to go crazy in depth, but connecting with your spirit guides is one of the most important things that you can do. And to do that, you sit quietly and you ask yourself or you ask your guides to come down to you. So you say, spirit guides, I ask you to come down to me. And then you sit quietly and you wait for them to give you a message or talk to you or whatever. That is the most broad way that you can do it. the way that I usually teach to communicate with your spirit guides is creating a sacred space. And what I mean by this is you create a sacred space where you are, so for example, you create a sacred space by saying, I'm going to go into a sacred space, and wherever you land, you land. And mine has a little creek that's flowing by it, and I have this grass that's there. There's a little path that goes between one bench and another bench, and then there's an open field off to my left. That's my sacred space. But I want you to create 2 benches there, or 2 chairs or something, because you're going to have somewhere for them to sit and communicate with you. But you go into that space, and then you invite your spirit guide to come down to you. And that spirit guide is going to come down to you by either just showing up and sitting on the bench in front of you. You can also create a doorway that's filled with bright white light that is off to your left, and it's filled with bright white light. And then you ask for your spirit guide to come through there. And that spirit guide can be nothing but a ball of light or a person of light, but ultimately you're going to feel, is it masculine, is it feminine? And then you have them sit down on the bench, and you can start, if you're not able to make them out clearly, start at their feet and just slowly allow yourself to make out their feet. What are they wearing on their feet? And then you go up the legs, what are they wearing on their legs? And then you end up making the whole spirit guide out, and then you can talk with them and communicate with them in that space through many different methods. So you can utilize your clairvoyance, you can utilize your clairaudience, you can ask that spirit guide a question, and if you feel like they're not talking to you, like you're just having a conversation, you then want to feel in telepathically and see if they're trying to show you any visions and things like that. That's the way that I teach to communicate with our spirit guides and meet them, and it works very, very well for many people. It works so well that people often say that they feel like they were making it up, and they don't know if it was true or not because it felt so real and it was so easy. And the big thing with humans is if it's not hard, we feel like we're not doing it properly. And that's not true when it comes to spirituality. It's very easy and it flows very well. So while you think that you're using your imagination, you're actually projecting energy out there for your spirit guide to do what your spirit guide needs to do to make them look however they need to look. So that's how I would suggest connecting with your spirit guides. But one of the easiest, most passive ways is to close your eyes, go into a meditative state, and say, I would like to connect to my spirit guides. And they might come down and connect to you there. They might start connecting to you with numbers or synchronicities or other things. But they're going to connect with you one way or another. But that intent to communicate with them is the main focus. And giving them permission to come down and guide you heavily in your life is important as well, because they're there guiding you all the time and doing all the stuff that they need to do. But until you say, spirit guides, I ask for you to come down and just guide me and talk with me and give me guidance, show me the way, they will then show up in full force and help you tremendously. So yeah, that's all I'll say about spirit guides for now. All right, so then we get into pendulums. And pendulums, I want to start by saying I don't ever want anyone to get used to a tool like tarot cards, pendulum, any of that stuff. It's not good to get to like have that as your only way that you communicate with your guides. So but I want to say that the pendulum is a really huge tool that you can use to first establish communication with your intuition, with your spirit guides, with God, the universe. So when it comes to a pendulum, it is, usually I have it in here and I forgot to bring it. A pendulum, sorry, I got caught up reading a comment on the thing. When you're using a pendulum, it is a string with a something on the bottom of it. And I say something because it can be clear quartz, It can be some sort of stone. It can be metal. It can be all kinds of different material. I highly recommend quartz crystal because it's the most highly influential, and it's the easiest for energy to flow through it. So, a quartz crystal pendulum, you can hold it in your hand and the chain, and then you put it over your other hand and you ask it, what is pendulum? What is the question, or what is the answer to yes? And it'll go a certain way. Then you say, pendulum, what is the answer to no? And it'll go a certain way. Then you say, pendulum, what is the answer to you're not sure of the question? And it'll go a certain way. You can use a pendulum to talk with your spirit guides. So when you grab your pendulum, you want to set the intent that you want to talk with your spirit guides, or you want to talk to God, or you want to talk to the universe, something of the good, because a pendulum, if you just pick it up and start asking questions, you have no clue who you're asking the question to. So you want to make sure that you're setting intent. So I'll pick a pendulum up and I'll say, I ask for my spirit guides to come down to me. And then I ask, what is the answer to yes? It goes one way. And then what's the answer to no? Then you can ask your question. Where a pendulum comes in to play is, I would encourage you to sit down, and if you have a yes or no question that you have on your mind, I would encourage you to sit down, go quiet, and ask your guides, what is the answer to this, yes or no? And then, after you're done asking that, I would grab your pendulum. Once you get your answer, I would get your pendulum and ask, what is the answer to that question? And if it goes yes or no, and it's the same as yours, then you know your intuition is working, and that you're right. So you can utilize that to help your intuition, and you can also use it if you feel a certain way about something and you're just not quite sure. Like, and I keep using this as an example, but I'm just going to do it again, is you feel like a person isn't a good person. Well, if you feel like that, but for some reason it looks like they're a good person, everything's good, you can grab your pendulum and say, does this person have my best interest at hand? And it'll tell you, your spirit guides will tell you, because you're going to invite your spirit guides down, and they will tell you that the answer on that. When I first got my pendulum, I went to work, and my friend, who's super skeptical of all of it, he was like, I was telling him about it and how awesome it is and how right it is, and he was like, I'm pretty skeptical, and I said, well, ask me a question to ask it that only you would know, and or ask me a question. So he started asking me questions, and it was giving him the correct answer. And he was like, well, I mean, like, it's awesome, and it's clear, I don't see your hand moving. He said, but you could possibly know the answers to all the stuff that I was just asking you, so I'm going to ask you a question that I know you don't know. And he said, when did I get my dog food or something like that? And I was like, all right. So I said, was it 1 day ago? And it said, no. Was it 2 days ago? It said, no. And I got to however many days it was, and it said yes. He was like, huh. I gotta admit, it's kind of cool, and I don't know how it's doing it, but like, that's right. And so it was just, it gives you the right answers, and it's cool, and it really it can validate a lot of things for you. So tarot or oracle cards can also be used. So, for example, when I was moving into this building, so some of you may know, some of you might not know, I was over on Bridgetown Road in a 750 square foot office in the bottom of a Cape Cod building, office building. And then I decided to come and get a 3,000 square foot office with 10 offices that I had to fill, and I had no clue what I was even doing and why I was even doing it. So but I knew it was the right thing to do. So I came out, I signed the lease, all that stuff happened, and then I was at my office cleaning it out, my old office, and I got to my tarot cards, and I heard, and I just felt like I should pull some cards, and I was like, no, I'm trying to get all this stuff in. I got the U-Haul outside, I'm trying to do all this stuff, and then I heard my guides were like, you should really pull some cards, and I was like, but like, I don't want to, and they were like, you need to pull the card, and I was like, all right, I'll pull one card, and they were like, no, 3 cards, and I was like, I'll pull 3 cards. So then I pulled 3 cards, and when I did, it validated so much of where I was going. I don't know a lot about tarot cards or oracle cards because I don't use them, and I never studied. I do use them from time to time, but I haven't studied them. So when I get a card, I have to look up what the meaning is of that card. So I looked up the meaning of all three of those cards, and it basically said that you took a risk and you are you opened up you opened up a business venture, and now it's time for it to grow, and it's time for you to take another risk. And when you take that risk, the business venture is going to be more than you ever thought it was going to be, and everything on the business side of things is going to be amazing, and your spiritual development, just like that kind of message that I got from it. So it was super validating that I am supposed to do what I'm doing, basically. So, yes. One other thing I want to mention about that, one exercise that I used to do with tarot cards is I would go into meditation and I would say, Spirit guides, do you have any messages for me? And I would listen and I would feel where they lead me and where I go with it. Then I would ask, what card? Show me the card that I'm going to pull. And then I would actually pull a card. And it was always crazy to me because I would ask my guides the message. If they have a message, I would get something. And it could be something as simple as you need to be more balanced spiritually and physically. And then I would ask about the card, and not kidding you, I mean, probably like 19 out of 20 times, I saw at least an aspect of the card that I was going to draw. And it was just always really crazy to me. But you can do it that way, and then the card oftentimes said the same exact thing that my guides told me when I asked for any messages or anything. So you can use that for that kind of stuff as well. All right. Paying attention to synchronicities. And I kind of touched on this a few minutes ago, but like allowing yourself to pay attention to everything that happens on a day-to-day basis. So it's said that we receive something along the lines of like 1,000 synchronicities a day that we just don't pick up. So the issue with that is our brains it's conditioned to let go of any information that's not useful to us, that's not important to us, and retain all of the stuff that is important to us. So it takes out those little synchronicities that, I seen 3-3 earlier today, and now I'm seeing 3-3 again. Or I heard this song earlier today, and now I'm hearing it again, and it's the same, and I've been playing it in my head, and whatever. Just those kind of things, we don't pay attention to that. So paying attention to everything that happens is crucial. Like when you do wake up and you have a song playing in your head, you should always, always, always listen to what that song represents. And it's always really crazy when you actually dig into that and you hear that song, and then you ask, what does this song, or not ask, you look into what that song represents and the lyrics and everything, and it's like telling you a story of what you need to be doing right now. All right, let me see. So healing is super important when it comes to your intuition. So, and I'll just say the whole thing that I have here. So healing, clearing away filters, traumas, negative energies, patterns, cycles, and so on. The reason that's important is because if you are trying to use your third eye and it is clouded up by some blockage or trauma that you have in your third eye, it's not going to work out, and you're going to be seeing things through filters, through traumas, and so on. If you're trying to feel into certain things and you have limited beliefs there, or you have traumas there and things that are not serving your better good, you could be manifesting through those traumas. So even though so something comes up and it's something that you should be doing, but your traumas, which can be translated into your ego or your filters and things like that, are making you afraid of doing that and taking that leap and making that decision. So anyway, when it comes to um, opening up our intuition, it is incredibly important to make sure that your energy is as clear and as clean as it possibly can be. And that can be getting an energy healing from someone. It can be doing an energy healing on yourself. It can be communicating with your inner child and learning stuff about your inner child, because sometimes we suppress our gifts as a child because we saw something scary and we're like, oh my God, I don't ever want to see that again. So you suppress your clairvoyance and you're not able to really see anymore. And just things like that. Or you were always told to shut up as a kid, and your parents were always telling you shouldn't be talking, and then school tells you shouldn't talk, and then you go to your job and they tell you shouldn't talk. Well, your throat chakra is going to be suppressed and it's not going to be working as good as it should be. So what you're going to want to do is work on your throat chakra, because your clairaudience is not going to work out the way that it needs to if your throat chakra is not flowing the way that it should be. And along with that, there's your throat chakra working with your third eye chakra, working with your crown chakra, and completing this complete intuitive abilities that's going on up there. And then our heart chakra is like our most purest center for our intuition. Like our heart, there was a study that went on, and the guy, they were measuring the guy's pupils and his reaction to images that popped up on a computer screen. And they were measuring his pupils, his brain waves, and his heart. And who knows what else. But basically what ended up happening was his heart, his magnetic field with his heart was reacting like a few seconds before an image was actually flashed on the screen. Meaning, let's say it was an image of a house burning down, and in his mind, he would be like, oh God, that sucks. Well, his heart was reacting to the oh God, that sucks before the image even came up on the screen. So and then they would show like kids playing with flowers, and that's such a beautiful scene, and that was popping up in the heart before it popped up in his before the image even popped up. And then even as the image popped up, it still took the brain a second to actually process it and come up with the oh God, that stinks, or oh, that's amazing. So listening to your heart chakra and allowing yourself to your heart, your heart chakra, one and the same thing, but your heart is super important. It's a very big intuitive place. And I got kind of off, and I don't really know what I was talking about at this point. So I'm just going to go to the next thing. Gaining spiritual knowledge. That is just doing research, really, and watching spiritual documentaries or videos on YouTube, or reading books, or things like that. The more knowledge you gain, the more intuitive you become, in my opinion. Also, the more knowledge that you gain on the spiritual realm of things, the more your third eye opens. Anytime you're watching a spiritual video or a informational video on spirituality, your third eye is opening and activating more and more with that. So gaining more knowledge helps a lot as well. And then lastly, it takes practice and it takes patience as well. It was like 3 to 6 months before I was able to see and talk with my spirit guides. And it was probably a few months before I was able to tap in and ask for a message. And then probably a couple years before I was actually able to trust those messages and decipher the messages and so on. So be easy on yourself and just practice. Alright, so I'm going to go into Archangels, and we have 22 minutes left. So I'm going to go into Archangels really quick, and then ask anybody if they have any questions. So if you have any questions, note them down and ask me here in a second. So, excuse me, when it comes to Archangels, I'm not going to act like I am an expert on Archangels, because I'm not. I do know about Archangels, and I do know that I use Archangels and so on. When it comes to Archangels, I'm going to start with Archangel Raphael. Now, Archangel Raphael is he does a lot with healing. He does a lot with healing in this realm of things, and when I first started everything, I would see this guy like dancing, or not dancing, like smiling at me in my meditations. And I was like, who are you? And I always seen his head. And I was like, who are you? Who are you? And he would always just smile at me. And then one day I asked for Archangel Raphael to come down to me. And then all of a sudden, that guy, Archangel Raphael, was standing next to me. And I saw his face, and I was like, you look familiar. And I was like, why do you look so familiar? And I was like, hold on, you're the freaking guy that's been smiling at me. And I was like, why have you been smiling at me? And he said, I've been smiling at you because I knew that we were going to be working together, and I wanted you to get familiar with me and all that stuff. And I'm going to be assisting you with your healings when you're doing your healing, and so on. So he's helped me with my healing a ton. But if you need healing and you need help, or someone else does, and you're trying to call on archangels to help them, Archangel Raphael is a very good archangel to call down for that. And he also promotes like happier lifestyles, and like supports young people and just things like that. But the main focus is healing. All right, so then we move on to Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael is one that I use a ton. And Archangel Michael is used to for protection and like cleansing and clearing and things like that. So I use Archangel Michael when I'm severing cords from me to someone else. I use Archangel Michael when I'm placing my bubble around myself. I used to cleanse houses of negative energies and entities and stuff, and I used to use Archangel Michael a ton with that. But you're going to call on Archangel Michael if you feel like you need to be protected, and you need to protect your energy, or you need to really cut loose some things and get rid of some things within your energy. You can call on Archangel Michael. Also for strength and feeling a sense of strength and protected. And when you see Archangel Michael, if you ever see Archangel Michael, he oftentimes has a shield and some armor, or a sword that's burning with flames, or just glowing and things like that. And he can show up in many different ways. To be completely honest, I don't see his sword or his shield until he's like getting ready to cut cords or something like that. But if I just call down to him for my protective bubbles, he comes down in just armor. And I used to hear, I still do, but like I'm used to it now. But when he would come down, I would say I asked for Archangel Michael to come down to me, not like I'm hearing things in the real world, but on another frequency, on another level. I would hear chink, like armor, like coming down, like he would just land, and you would hear like ching kind of thing, and I knew he was there. And Archangel Michael can help a ton with shielding you and helping protect you. All right, so then we're going to move on to Gabriel, which he supports like creation of new ideas, creativity, belief in oneself. He also helps, he's like a messenger of some sort, and helps to pass messages along, and helps you to create and just manifest and do awesome things. I ask for Archangel Gabriel to come down to me every day as well when I'm doing my protection, and he helps me with my path, really, honestly. And it's not even in like a direct way. I am not really calling him down on him to sit down and go through my path with me. He's just there, and he's just supporting my path, and I call on him to come down to keep his presence up around me. All right, so then we move on to Archangel. Actually, when it comes to Gabriel, if you're ever needing help with like your path, or needing help with where to go in life, things like that, Archangel Gabriel will be someone that you can call on and ask for his energy to help you. If you're creating something like a new class, or a new business, or a new anything, he would be the one to call on. So then Archangel Metatron, who I already told my story about, he is said to be like the archangel of all archangels. So he is kind of in charge of all the other angels. But Archangel Metatron I have used for my path as well, and he has came down to me when it comes to like figuring out where I need to go next and what I need to do in life and things like that. So I would say when you just need an overall help and you're just in like a place where you just really, really need guidance, calling down Archangel Metatron would be a good idea. And then straying away from the archangels just a little bit, um, there's also other entities that you can call on to help you, such as Mother Mary. So while you may not believe in the Bible, you may not believe Mother Mary is even a thing. Who knows if she was or not? Mother Mary, she actually has been given power, and that is the most important part. So if I took this mouse and I said that this is the most powerful mouse in all of existence and it can heal any ailment in any person, and then I got a big group of people to believe that as well, and then they started spreading the word that this mouse is going to heal everybody, everything, and then everyone started believing it, that mouse would hold weight in the energetic realm of things, or in the physical. If you came and you're in the presence, it would heal you. But if I said, oh, great mouse, please come down to me, and then the mouse comes down, it would hold great healing powers because many people have given that to it. And it's the same thing with Mother Mary. She's been given that power. One time I was asking for help with my son because he was sick. And I was like, I'm asking for anyone for the highest good that can come down to help heal my son. And no one came. So then the next morning I woke up and this lady in like all white and she was glowing and she came down above my bed, and this was all in my imagination. And she came down, and then all around her I started to see this green energy flowing from her into me, and then it was flowing into my son's room as well. And I was like, what in the heck is going on here? And then she told me she was Mother Mary, and I was like so many contradictions there for me, and I was just like, what? There's no way, whatever. So then I researched Mother Mary, and she often comes down and uses a green color to heal, or an emerald green color to heal. So that was my validation that Mother Mary came down. And then my son also, he woke up and he wasn't even sick anymore, and everything was fine. And I was like, well, this is amazing, and it was just great. Then I tried it many other times, and then it didn't work, and my son just continued to be sick, or I was sick, and we must have needed to purge or be sick for a reason. And then you have like Buddha, you have Jesus, who you can call on. You wouldn't believe the amount of times when I'm doing an energy healing on someone that doesn't believe in energy healing, or doesn't believe in, like, they only believe in Jesus, and they only would come in here if I'm working through Jesus Christ and his energy. Well, I am, and I'm not lying. I mean, I'm working through all the good that is, but if someone wants to work directly through Jesus, I'll say, Jesus, come down and work with me and whatever. And then there's been some people that say, I always have believed in just Jesus Christ as my Savior, and he's the healer, but you do what you need to do and whatever. And then I would just be doing my healing, and all of a sudden Jesus enters the room, and he comes down, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And then he would say, there's many different reasons, but some of the reasons are like, he's here because his energy just being here, I don't even have to tell the person that Jesus is here. His energy is gelling with that person's energy more, and it is creating much more healing with them, I guess, in a way. Then other times he was like, tell them I'm here and to give them this message, and I did, and it was this profound moment for the person, and so on. But you can call on Jesus for anything, as most of us know, and he will help you with a lot. And just, you'll hear a lot of like I'm not a big religion guy, so I don't know the different religions and all that stuff, but you'll hear a lot of people in religion say that all you have to do is just give everything up to Jesus Christ and he will make everything perfect, basically. And they're not really lying, though, either, because Jesus Christ will help you with unconditional love and help you with so much guidance and strength. But some people don't believe that, and that's okay. But Jesus can help you with a lot of stuff. So putting all this together, we have our intuition that we're using. and that we can strengthen and we can make use for ourselves and strengthen it so that way we are able to move forward with much more guidance and clarity. We have our spirit guides, we have our archangels, we have our higher self that we can connect to. And when you practice and you get all of this into or where it needs to be, where you're able to connect, you're able to see things clearly, life changes. And even that initial step of saying, all right, I'm ready to start building my intuition, and then you do a practice run of something or whatever, or you start practicing, your life starts to change, and that intuition just starts to build and build and build, and things just start to go a lot better for your life. So that's all I have. So I ask, does anybody have any questions in here about anything? And I'm going to look on here and see if anyone has any questions as well.
So I thought Raphael came and also projected green light because of the healing.
Yes, and so if I'm, let me see. Yes, so Archangel Raphael, when he's around, you actually can see flashes of green as well. And that does mean that he's around, and he does use green to heal. Although, in my experience, it's been mostly very, very, very bright white light that he's used, with the exception of sometimes it is green. But yes, you're not wrong at all with that. He is associated with the color green as well. Any other questions about anything?
Is it always a comforting, positive feeling when you do all this, or because I feel like very hesitant, like it's like I'm going to open up something I don't want to open up, you know?
Yes. So intuition itself is always going to be very comforting, and it's going to be very it's going to feel very effortless, and it's going to feel very neutral with no emotions involved. So if you get this download of information and you get real scared about it, or it comes and it feels like real scary, that's most likely your ego that's bringing something in, or you're picking up on something negative or something. It doesn't have to be negative as in it's the devil, but it can just be like negative energy that's floating around and you're picking up on that. But intuition is very light and free and flowy, and once you start tapping into your intuition, you always do have to understand that there is a dark side to everything. So there has to be light, there has to be dark. But if you're doing bright light protection, you're protecting your space, and you are just going at it with the highest intent, and you're raising your vibration, and you're just going at it with this feel-good attitude, there's not going to be much of any negative that's going to happen or show up. And if you look at like negative entities or anything of that nature, no negative entity wants any part of someone that is raising their vibration and that is living a high vibrational life. They want someone that's living a low vibrational life so they can suck that energy from them. Now, that's not saying that there may be some things out there that doesn't want you to progress, and because they don't want the good in the world or something, but that's very, very far and few in between. There's not much of any bad that's going to happen when you try to connect with your spirit guides or your intuition and stuff like that. But you do have to be aware that there is bad there out there. So, yeah. Does that answer what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, I think I've told you I'm in school for psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, my teacher, her behavior was reminding me of feeling like rejected. And she did it twice in one day, in different like circumstances.
Like she was rejected?
She was rejecting me.
Rejecting you, okay.
Yeah, like I wasn't important. She cut me off in like the middle of my presentation. And so it just all those feelings. I was like, I know it has to do with past stuff, but when you feel like that, because at the time I couldn't like do anything.
Yeah.
But I was like, I know it's her. I know it's not me. But what is a better something to make me feel better?
Yeah, well,
Is that?
it does. So
Because once I got home, I was like, I just need to go outside. I need to be with my plants. I need to be around things that make me happy because she was making me really sad.
well, and when something like that happens, it can like zap your energy, and it can really like cut your energy down, and it can, on a like psychological level, it can completely deter you from wanting to do anything like that any more, go any further, because you're afraid that you're going to be wrong or you're going to be shut down again. Like that's the type of stuff that like builds trauma in children and stuff. If a teacher did that to a child, then they come in here at the age of 34 and all of a sudden we're bringing up the fact that their teacher shut them down in 4th grade. That's the type of stuff that can cause trauma and stuff like that. So when that happens, you first want to always try to come at it from a higher perspective of, you know, she's in whatever place she's in right now. She's doing whatever she thinks is best. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm doing everything that to the best of my ability. And then from that, you do want to try to ground, and you want to try to protect your energy. So ideally, you would have went into that situation with bright light protection, and then it might not have hit you as hard or zapped you as hard as it did. But since it did, what I would recommend is when you go home or get out of school or whatever, well, actually, let's just start then and there. So after it all happens, I would try to bring in that understanding that we just talked about, and then I would try to take a breath and allow myself to let go of those emotions that it brought up. So like feel the emotions that it brought up. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to cry or you have to get mad and hit something, although that does help a ton. But feeling that emotion and breathing it out does, what I was writing on myself. It does wonders for our body, and that's all emotion wants to be, is just felt anyway. And then when we say, oh, that made me real mad, I'm going to do something about it later, it then just hangs out wherever it's hanging out, and it builds and builds and builds. But if you allow yourself to feel it and breathe it through, then it's not going to hang out there. So that's the first thing I would do, is breathe and allow myself to feel the emotions that I'm feeling. And that would make you feel a lot better. And then when I got home, I would probably do like a, grounding's always great. You should ground with anything, but I would do a contemplated meditation, which is where you like sit in silence and you connect to your higher self, your higher wisdom, and then you look at the situation again. And you'll be able to see much easier from her perspective, or you may get some little insights of why she was being the way she was. And oftentimes something like that happens not because of them. It is happening because it's trying to send you a message in some way, shape, or form as well. So I would tell you that whatever you felt, if you felt like you were given a message of some sort or giving something out of that actually happening, I would pay attention to that as well.
Okay. Because I got a clear message. It was that I don't let people treat me like this.
Yeah.
Because it's a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get close with people that make me feel like that.
And that's perfect. And you should you should have your boundaries and uphold your boundaries. So then we would be brought to, then what do you do about it though at this point? Besides tell her, don't ever do that again. I mean, like, you ever do it again, I'm gonna no. But I mean, what else are you gonna do? You could go up to her and you could say, look, hey, I just wanted to let you know that this did make me feel this way, and I didn't appreciate it, or whatever, or ask if there's a reason she did it or whatever, and try to clear the air that way. But also letting her know that you're not going to treat me that way as well. So, I mean, yeah. Maybe you're getting too lenient on that boundary, and your guys are trying to remind you of not being lenient on that boundary anymore, and reassessing it in a way, and bringing your awareness to that boundary as a whole, and just assessing it. But, yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
For the most part. Okay. Anyone else? I'm good with questions if anybody has anything. All right. So everyone on the live, thank you for watching. I am ending it now.